Welcome to the Ride and Style Podcast, your turbocharged pit stop for automotive restyling. Buckle up with Jesse and Josh.
Welcome to another episode of the Ride and Style Podcast. We're on episode 23, and this time we have Christopher Gough and Wade Becher from Wicked Wraps. Christopher, thank you so much for being with us today. How you doing?
Wonderful. Thank you so much. It's Christopher Gough.
Gough.
But no, it's all good. No, I'm wonderful. Thank you very much for having me on your podcast.
You know what, Christopher? I've actually never said your last name out loud, and I should have asked you. So
That's all good.
yeah,
all good.
Gough.
You can imagine there are 10 ways, Jesse, of saying my last name. So I've grown up through school, all my relationships.
Is it like German or something? Where's Gough? Where's that name come from?
It's a German mid-Eastern heritage, so kind of the European element. So yeah, it comes from that element. There are 10 ways. I actually looked it up to pronounce my last name, and I've heard it. I've actually heard 12 or 15.
We might even make up another one today. How about go?
I'm like, how on earth did you come up with that? You can't add in silent words or silent letters to someone's last name just because you think it sounds better. I've got Google. Somebody actually called me Google one day. I'm
Google?
like,
You wish your last name was Google.
Go.
Yeah, I must have said the French version. I was doing the French version, I guess. Awesome, man. Well, thank you. Tell us a little bit about, first of all, let's just talk about the business that you're in right now so that you let our listeners know, what Wicked Wraps is all about. And then when your partner, Wade, comes in, we'll chat with him too. But just tell us a little bit about your business. We could start there.
Well, Wicked Wraps is a custom automotive creative design company. We specialize in vinyl applications, and that is exactly what it means. When you walk in our door, we usually expect and hear, we don't know what we want, or we have an idea of what we want, or can you do this to our ride? Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce you to Mr. Wade Becher.
Hi, everybody. How's it going? Hey, Wade.
Yeah, a little late to the show today. Sorry, guys.
It's all right, man.
Wade carries 20 hats, and so just to even get him to sit down here for a few minutes it's pretty remarkable because he's got to go, and we know we got to go. But he's the man behind the myth. He's the one that created this. He's the one that founded the opportunity of what Wicked Wraps is today. Every day, I don't think this guy sleeps without coming up with an idea of what we're going to do the next day to make and enhance our company. So I'm along for the ride when it comes to what it's like to be here with Wicked Wraps. I help Wade with a lot of ideas on what we're going to do, and then I support him, and I'm his left hand when he's dealing with the ride over and modifying and making things happen. I'm over here keeping things together or building something, speaking with a client, and together we build this incredible company, and every single day it's gotten better and better.
Wade, good to see you, man. How you doing?
Yeah. Doing good. Living life.
Why don't you go back in time a little bit and just give us the history of how you started this thing back when you met me and you wrapped a van I had and like 20 years ago. So Wade and I go back a little ways, but tell us how you started the company, and so we can hear that history. How'd you get into this automotive world?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think I've been in the automotive world since I was a little kid. There's never been a time where I wasn't tinkering with something or creating, building, crafting. And really, my passion for automotive restyling started with Hot Wheels. Because my parents reminded me, a few weeks back when I was talking to my dad that there was a trip that they took us on to Florida. And I was stuck in an RV for very long periods of time. And my parents would allow me to purchase some Hot Wheels along the way. But then I decided that I needed to modify my Hot Wheels, which I did so with a hammer and glue and other things. So I would take the bodies off and put, a different body with a lifted truck body. And then I took it a step further. I started staging all my Hot Wheels out. And then I had, the old school Kodak camera. They had the reel. And I don't know where that camera went. I took a lot of photos of my Hot Wheels. Who knows what those photos ever even looked like, because I never developed them. But honestly, I think that's where a lot of my passion started to grow for cars. And then, fast forward all the way through, past high school and all that stuff, I was looking for something to do with my life. Started building a hot rod, got it to the stage where I was ready for paint. And went to see a guy named Mike LaValle in Snohomish who owned Killer Paint at the time. And, this was probably 5 or 6 years after he had just done his Monster Garage TV with Jesse James, and that was kind of on the downward trend as other things were starting to come to light and the reality TV side of things. And he innovated Real Fire Flames, and at the time, that's what I thought I wanted on my truck. And so went to see him in my early 20s. He quoted me around $60,000 to airbrush his truck, and he was talented. He's worth every penny of what he's asking for, but I couldn't afford that. So the alternate avenue was vinyl decals. So I bought a plotter, started making decals in my bedroom. And at the time, I think people just thought I was crazy because I literally had like naked women decals and this kind of decal. And I had the Calvin and Hobbes, decal where he's peeing on the Ford emblem. I just was making anything and everything I could and just cutting different colors. And then before I knew it, I had an eBay store. And then I was like, well, what more can I do with these decals? And so I dove a little deeper, and it was reading magazines that were talking about wide format printing. Mm-hmm. And that would be right around 2006 when I would start to inquire about that. And at the time, everything was commercial geared. And I thought to myself, I could buy this printer and I could print my flames. Why can't I print flames? They're printing sandwiches and stuff. Why can't I print fire?
Yeah.
And so that's where it really kind of started. And, I ended up wrapping this truck in the Real Fire Flame wrap for the first time ever. And that was in 2007 at the time, and took it to a classic car show. Ended up taking a second place trophy next to the airbrush artist Mike LaValle at Killer Paint. And I thought that was, pretty cool because I had this little fancy sticker that I shoved on my primer body S10 that when I kept telling everybody that it was a vinyl wrap, it was just like, well, what is a vinyl wrap? I'm like, well, the same thing that's on your van that you have for your plumbing company. You're like, well, that can't be the same. That's a billboard, and this is flames. It looks like paint.
Yeah.
And so I kept trying to explain that to people, but really, as that was happening, the gears started to shift in my head. Like, oh, do I really want to chase automotive restyling, or what am I creating here is more of a marketing company, and should I shift gears and chase commercial market? Mm-hmm. And that's when Wicked Wrap's name came to light, and I decided that I would scale back my normal workflow, and that's how I jumped into Latip and B&I and chamber groups, and ultimately would meet Jesse. And I was just a young 20-something-year-old punk who was just trying to build something for myself. And I can tell you that coming into a group with 40-plus business owners that had way more experience than I had was certainly intimidating. But I came in with energy, and my goal was to sell everybody and their mom as many wraps as I could humanly get people to purchase in there. And as Jesse knows, there was probably a lot of things at that time that I did that weren't necessarily, wrap related, because that's kind of how you start a business in the beginning. You've got to do a little of everything until you really hone in as to what your craft is.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the backstory today.
So I got a couple questions for you. So when you're doing those Hot Wheels, did you ever get electrical tape out and just do the first chrome delete ever?
It's quite possible that I did.
That's great.
But yeah, I was literally taking car bodies, and I would very carefully use a screwdriver and a hammer, and I'd separate the body from the chassis.
Oh yeah.
And I was even modding the wheels and tires, and I would glue the wheels and tires back onto the chassis, and now I had a car that looked like it was a lifted truck.
Yeah. So
I did a lot of that.
You took those van wheels off, and you put them on like a little Fiero, and bam, that thing looked awesome. Oh yeah, I like what you. That's pretty cool. So. Did you teach yourself how to put vinyl on? Like when you did your S10, did you teach yourself? I don't think YouTube videos were really a thing back then.
No, not really, because wraps were still kind of like secretive almost at that time. Yes. It was like, oh, well, a lot of people didn't realize, they thought the only thing they could get on their van at that time was just a decal. But companies like Coca-Cola and Frito-Lay and all these other brands out there are wrapping their box trucks. Why can't the normal consumer do the same thing? Yeah. And I think that was the shift that I was in. I was in the beginning of that shift where it was going from commercial and only being this thing that these large companies did. I was getting into it as a small guy boutique shop, and now I can start offering and tailoring those types of services to everyday customers.
Gotcha. So you're pretty much self-taught then. You got a lot of trial and error?
Yep, lots of failure in order to find the right way to do
Because
things.
I'm an old school vinyl guy. Okay, so
Yep.
when wraps, I used to do a lot of decals and that
Yep.
kind of the kits that would come on from Auto Trim Express. I'm really dating myself, Sharpline and Universal and all those guys.
Yeah, I know Sharpline. I know all those.
So when wrap came around, I said, where has this been all my life? Because you mess up vinyl, you put a wrinkle in vinyl, it's done forever. You can't go around anything curvature. So what was the film you were using back then, and how did you just start pulling it and putting it on a piece of bumper and trying to make it work, or what?
Yeah, so I started out doing wet applied decals first.
Okay, yeah.
With a plotter, and the struggle of trying to lay down a checkered graphic on the side of someone's car with transfer tape, and everything is going down wet, and you can't pull the transfer tape right away because it's going to yank off the tiny little square that hasn't dried all the way. Yeah, I mean, I'd spend 10 hours trying to install the world's smallest decal just to get a perfect look. And when you speed into the wrap side of things, you're dealing with a different animal. You've got a product that has memory to it. It's got air release technology. It's repositionable to a certain extent, and you can conform and manipulate the product. But most importantly, we could crumble it all up into a ball and then pull it all apart, put some heat on it.
Oh, wow.
And as long as we haven't stress cracked the ink or things of that nature, then likely we were able to heat it and bring that film back to looking like it was never harmed.
Which is amazing, the technology that came about.
Yeah, it's definitely come a long ways. I mean, when I first started wrapping, I was using, Sharpline.
Mm-hmm.
We still actually use Universal products today. We order all our pinstripes from Universal products, so they're a great supplier from that, and we use pinstripes every day. And I still, Christopher and I just striped up an old Grady white fiberglass boat. Oh. And when that came through, I looked at Chris. I was like, "Dude, this is old school." And he's like, "Oh, what do you mean by that?" And I'm like, "Well, we're not going to stripe this boat with wrap film. It wouldn't make sense to do that. We're going to order stripes from Universal products. We're going to get the colors as close as we can to the original, remove what's there. We know there's going to be a fade, and we just got to make sure that stripe is perfectly along that fade there."
Or a little bit larger, Christopher.
Yes.
And did you make Christopher take off the graphics on that boat?
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Good.
Yes.
Gosh, everybody needs to go through that one time in their life.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. Yeah. I went from one career of stripping, now I'm doing a whole nother one.
Oh, I can't wait to get to that question. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Be sure to check out his OnlyFans page for that.
That's awesome.
I think everybody here in the shop, all the way to Haven, our operations manager, has removed a decal, a wrap, or something. Everybody here has experienced the blisters and the pain that comes along with removing some of that stuff. I don't get blisters on my fingers anymore, but that's just because 19 years, your skin just gets used to it.
But you still smell like citrus because of all the remover.
Oh, yes, yeah.
He's one big callus. His heart, his brain, everything.
Yeah. Basically, I'm part citrus remover now, and I think the rest of my body is 70% isopropyl. So
not 90%, just 70%. That's good.
70.
So how did you two meet?
Well, as I meet many people, like I met Jesse, helping him out, all those years ago with his other business adventures and whatnot. Chris reached out to me on a project back in 2009. He had a H1 Hummer at the time that was pretty popular back at that time. That was a pretty cool car. If you had an H1 Hummer, you were doing something right. And so Chris got introduced to me from a local sign shop that Chris was having them produce all his real estate signs for his real estate company. They reached out to me because they had been around in Snohomish for about 30 years. They made all the political type signs and things like that, but they had no idea what it took to wrap.
Yeah.
And I'm not a sign maker. I'm a wrap guy.
Mm-hmm.
And so they reached out to me and they wanted to wholesale the project out to me so that they can make a little bit of money, but I would, do all the work. And it looks like they, did the wrap at the end of the day. So we fast forward a little bit. Chris comes by my shop, at the time was in Marysville. And I get introduced to him and he's telling me hey, I want to wrap this whole Hummer. I want a picture of my head on the side. I need a picture of these hands like this. Literally their hands like how I'm holding now, holding some keys that are just floating out of the side of the car.
Yeah.
I'm like, cool, I can do that. So create this design and I don't even think at the time I even sent Chris a proof because
no, back then it was drop off pickup.
Pretty much.
Yeah, I was coaching his kid in soccer, and he said, you know what, you've done so much real estate for everybody on the team. No one knows who you are. You should put some logos on your truck. I said, well, great. I've got a Hummer. Why don't we wrap it as like a billboard? He goes, well, this would be great. He says, I can't do it, but I got a friend who does it. He's opened up a shop there in Marysville. So I think this was actually back 2007 because I went to Napa, drove the first Hummer back in 2005. And then, I came back here and I was like, I want one. So as soon as they opened up in Tacoma, I bought it and I took it to Wade. And my ideas in my head were expressed. Wade took it just perfectly, but he took it very logically and just theoretically said, okay, I'll give you what you want.
Yeah.
And, so when I came back to pick up the H2, maybe it was a week later, I drive up and he backs it out. And sure enough, there is a 2.5 by 3 foot picture of my head, as big as you can imagine, just staring you right in the face from the door. And then there's the ghost hands with the keys, and then just a few little other things on the and of course I was like, wow, that's cool. It was different in my head, but let's run with this. And luckily I was going on vacation for that week, so I picked it up and I had one of my assistants drive it around. And she goes, I'm embarrassed to be driving around with your big ass head on the side of my truck, but I've never driven an H2, so I'm just getting used to it. As long as I don't look at the door, I'm okay. So for about a first week though, I started getting known. I started getting pings from everybody in my group, people driving down the road seeing the H2, saying, "Man, you are now the guy with the big ass head."
Yeah.
And so I had that going for me. But I did so much business because of that. So then I took it back to Wade a few months later.
Yeah, I think we ended up removing it. Chris went a different route. And then before I know it, he's like, hey, I got a Dodge Viper. Can you do something with this? And we're pimping out a Dodge Viper. And he's like, hey, I picked up this 900 RR CBR. What can we do with that? And we ended up doing a really cool like spider wrap design on it.
Yeah.
And I swear every car I did, Chris would just bring it to me. He's like, decorate it. And then he's like, hey, I just sold it. He's like, I sold it for more than what I paid for it. I'm like, so, we've always had a really good synergy of working together. I think when Chris and I met, it was kind of like two lost brothers found each other.
Yeah, it was pretty great. It was pretty great.
And I don't think we ever thought at that time that we'd actually enter into business together. I think we focused on a friendship aspect of our friendship over all these years.
Yeah.
And, life just kind of showered down an opportunity for me. And I used that opportunity to re-envision the tunnel of this, company that I started all these years ago. And how do I grow it? And how do I align myself with the right partner and the right person? And I need to have somebody that energizes me, a dreamer, a go-getter, a hustler, someone that knows how to make people like them. Because as we know in business, everything is relationship-based. And Chris compliments me in all of those aspects and brings a lot of really amazing positive energy to the company, and we both do really well with the bad cop good cop type of thing.
Well, yeah, Wade's natural intelligent. It's potent, and people don't recognize when they look into his eyes what he's capable of thinking. He's tearing apart a conversation, and he's already rebuilding what you're trying to tell him before you're done talking to him. And he surprises everyone with his artistry, and he's very humble, so he doesn't truly consider himself an artist, but if you watch him work, it is no different than watching a painter paint or a horse trainer train a horse. There's a really fine line at being able to be good at something and then being great at something, and Wade crosses that line within seconds. And so when you take someone like me that can do that to a person, and I can help their exposure in their life, I can help elevate their potential of being a great person, finding extraordinary results in ordinary situations, and you complement myself next to Wade, who has that power in technicality and understanding his trade craft like an expert, and then you put us in the same room together with somebody who doesn't quite know what they want. I've elevated them, he's inspired them, I'm moving them, he's got them just moving, and by the time they walk out of here, they're just almost shaking with excitement, and we get that same elevation when they come back to pick up their rig. They give us a hug. They're so happy about, they're like, I don't know how you dove into my mind and did that, but what you've done is you've made me happy. You've made my business grow, and I can't wait to tell 100 people about you. And that's what makes Wade and I's partnership so great.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
I mean,
I want to talk about something. You guys do something a little interesting to me. A lot of restylers and folks in the industry. They're heavy on the dealership side, so they do a lot of business with dealerships, and then they're trying to expand their retail. And one area that they're usually quite weak in is the commercial fleet side. And you guys are the opposite. You guys have actually done very successful with commercial fleet, and now you're only now beginning to expand even more into dealerships and retail. So can you talk a little bit about that, the commercial side, and just how you're networking and how you're growing the business? I think a lot of people would be interested to know.
Yeah, I think for anybody that's jumping into, wrapping or exploring that, I think solid color is a good way to learn. It's a good way to understand how the film reacts, how it works. Getting into commercial is changing the game because now we have registration, we have alignment, we have all these other things that we now have to account for. Is their logo printed the right size? Is it the right Pantone colors? Did we use the right font? Is the background correct? Is it overpowering the logo? There's a lot more that goes into commercial side branding because we have to keep the branding consistent across all forms. And you could wrap a box truck for a client, and then the next day they show up and they've got some unique truck that we now need to modify this full wrap design now into a partial wrap design. And so it can be difficult at times, but very lucrative because when you're on the creative side, you're getting to charge for that creative aspect. And so there's more revenue to be made in the commercial side than on the solid color, market, in my opinion. And we also got to look at, as things change out there in the world, if the economy gets affected or things like that, maybe my solid color business is going to die down. I can always lean back on that custom print side of things and be able to, always have that as a reserve because I not only can tailor to the commercial side, but if someone comes through and says, print me a salmon skin boat wrap, I've got that ability to do that.
Yeah.
And so being on the commercial side, in my opinion, is extremely important, and anybody in the wrap business should focus at least 70% of their business on that model. The other percentage will come naturally because anybody that owns a business, that has a great business, owns a nice car. And they're going to take that nice car, they're going to want it tinted, they're going to want the ceramic coating, they're going to want the chrome delete, they want the paint protection film because we've already built the relationship with them on the commercial side. I made their brand look good, which makes them make money. And then they're going to take their money and take their personal car and bring it right back to us and be happy to spend that money right back with us without ever even batting an eye at our price because we've built that relationship with them.
Is that how you guys got into wrapping planes and businesses' walls? I mean, you guys wrap anything, 100%. Right? You're wrapping everything.
100%. I mean, wall wraps kind of came because it started with, again, show and tell, right? Anything I bring into the business, if I got to try and make somebody believe that it's something that they could put in their house or their business, I need to establish it just like this wall wrap in our shop. Because my whole goal is I could tell and talk and do all these things over the phone, but I'd much rather get the person here to my shop. Because if I get them here, they're going to see it, they're going to touch it, they're going to feel it, they're going to believe it. I give them a price, done.
Well, we always, this is what made Wade and I such great friends to start with, is we understood logic together. We would laugh about it because a lot of people have intelligence but no common sense, right? And so when we look at how we can complement each other, we look at those age-old tactics from the art of war. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. You can spin that into a positive note. When you dovetail that up against the fact that you want to keep your friends closer, or your friends closer and your enemies closer, we started utilizing those elements in our business strategy. So instead of going after a targeted one direction like a sniper would, we're going after it with a big shotgun effect. But as we find out what's most valuable out there, then we'll start hyper-focusing on that. So we'll send the warning shot of what we're looking to do, and that is to the fleet industry. Or if I do go into, say, a car dealership, I'm that guy that can walk in and within 5 minutes, I know your kids' names, I know your puppy, I know when you guys got married. Everyone loves me when I start talking to them because I have that aura. It's a natural gift. So you use that to your benefit, right? You flaunt it. You just push it out there. And my goal is to get out there and get the name known and let people know that we can do anything and everything, and Wade hit it perfectly. If you hit a champagne tower on the top flute, it's going to fill everything down below. So what we do is we go out there and we hit the bigger businesses that all have 10 to 40 rigs with 5 to 500 employees. all of those people typically own a car, have a home, know somebody that owns a car or has a home. We don't need to impress everybody, right? We need to impress somebody. And as we know that the world is surrounded and built by 6 people, it's basically the law of attraction is what that means. It means that you are basically the derivative of 6 people that have value in your life that made you the person you are today. So we use that again as our business strategy. I get out and I keep it going, and Wade keeps it flowing by as me going out there bringing a lot of these contents in, and through Wade's 20 years in the business and my 30 years in the business, again, what we're focused on is the hyper intensity of relationship building, cultivating it, incubating it, and making sure that every single day, that's what we focus on. And if you focus on the right things, everything else cumbersome comes. It tones it down. It's organic. And so when we look like we're a duck, just letting water run off our back, we are paddling like hell underneath. Most people never see how hard we are truly working because we make it look easy. And that's the sign, and that's the definition of a true professional.
Yeah. And one thing I was going to answer, about commercial stuff, obviously we tailor to, one commercial vehicle all the way to a growing company that may grow into 10 vehicles, or servicing from someone that's already got an established fleet and then continuing to build on that fleet. To answer your question in regards to Vachon Aircraft and that, unique relationship, that happened by complete serendipity. I always tell this story because a lot of people don't understand what it's like to work in the airplane realm. It is very, very strict. There's a lot of, vinyl wrap companies, 3M, Avery Dennison. They don't endorse it. They don't stand behind it. They don't give you any love for touching these planes because they're so scared about any vinyl being stuck to an aircraft. And so ultimately, how that happened was I got an opportunity to wrap this $500,000 carbon fiber plane that was called a Diamond Star. And it was for a client of ours who owns Glass Vodka Distillery out of Seattle. He was the second distillery in Seattle. And he thought, hey, I have this really cool plane. It lives at Galvin Flying School in Seattle. I rent this thing out. And the reason he rents it is because the rental fees will pay for the servicing of the aircraft every year. Hey, smart. He knows he's got the sexiest plane and everybody wants to rent it at the flying school. So he's like, hey, can you wrap this thing? So I reached out to Avery Dennison and said, hey, here's the plane I'm looking to wrap. And they said, is it pressurized? Nope. Free game. Sweet. Cool. So I scheduled this appointment. I end up arranging a hangar and everything. I rent this hangar for 2 weeks. We wrapped this plane from white to diamond sparkle silver with a champagne glass spilling down the side. And the reason it's called Glass Vodka Distillery is because they have a lot of hand-blown glass in there. So just think like Del Chihuly and all the rainbow colors just spilling out of a martini glass down the side of the plane. So we wrapped this whole plane in solid color. Then we came back and added printed pieces to help complete this look. We put honeybees on there because he was a big honeybee supporter. Under the wings, it had 14-foot long lettering underneath both sides that said Glass Vodka under the wings. I mean, one hell of a badass billboard, if you ask me. So we did this thing. We spent 2 weeks. Customer comes, picks up. Freaking mind blowing. I've got these insane pictures of this plane sitting out on the tarmac with all the, Boeing planes being built out there. Nobody gets those photos. Yeah. But I've got some, and they're pretty awesome. And long story short is we wrap this plane. Customer picks it up, flies it down to Galvin Flying School that day, and the plane is red flagged. So if you don't know what a red flag means, it basically means that you can't fly it because the FAA thinks there's something weird about your plane, and likely something wasn't either logbooked or something wasn't recorded or something.
Was it?
And so there was a few little things that were learned in the process of doing that, both on my end. It's just being a vinyl wrap guy, not being a pilot, not understanding the legalities of, all those things. And ultimately, myself and the client tried to work with the FAA over the course of 3 months. And I actually had the FAA come and tour my shop because that's how much of a red flag this created. And, long story short, they ground the plane, 90 days goes by. They came back and basically told my customer that he could have the wrap on there. He could continue to have the wrap, but it would need to be insured as a special interest plane at that point in time, which you can't rent a special interest plane. So when that came to fruition, he basically just said at that point, that's like taking a $45,000 loss every year. So he's like, I'm not going to do that. And so he said, it's like getting a new puppy, bringing it home, find out it's definitely sick, and then you have to take it out back and put it out of its misery. And that's kind of what it felt like. And I remember having to go down and remove this beautiful wrap. And I just, the whole time I'm cussing and I'm just mad and I'm pissed because we're removing this really beautiful wrap.
If they would have painted it, would it have been okay?
Well, so here's the deal with this plane, and what I've learned about carbon fiber aircrafts is carbon fiber is painted white because carbon fiber is naturally gray and black. And when the plane gets higher in the air, the solar conductivity changes. So the plane is absorbing more energy from the sun, and there's also static charge and all these things that happen up in the air that we're just not aware of. I'm not a pilot. I don't understand these things. Yeah. But I've learned a lot through that. And so ultimately, anything that is carbon fiber, you need to have it remain white. If it becomes something other than that, then it's going to be insured as a special interest aircraft or a helicopter or whatever it might be. That's the only way to get around it. And the reason is because my understanding, now I'm not saying that this is a bold claim for anybody watching, but my understanding is that carbon fiber, the further it gets up in the sky, the closer it gets to the sun, it's been known to melt when it's not painted things like white or has that coating on there.
Gotcha. Okay.
So
that's crazy. So you did all that work, made it look awesome, but at least you got some good pictures because, I mean, you did it. You did it.
I know.
And it was in the air.
And the real beauty of that story is that the whole time that I rented this hangar, I rented it from a lady who was a flight instructor over at Northway Aviation in Everett on Payne Field. And not knowing that she worked for a company called CDK Engineering, which is Vashon Aircraft and Dynon Avionics. And they were building number 1 and number 2 Ranger, the aircraft, the light sport aircraft that they make. And they were looking for designs on it. They just didn't know what they wanted to do. And ultimately, this is a 10-plane fiberglass aircraft. And now I'm talking to the manufacturer. Yeah. So I got my foot in the door with them by creating custom white vinyls to match the painted parts of the aircraft so we could wrap raw fiberglass, make it look like paint and keep the weight down, which was huge for Vashon aircraft. I think that saves between 12 and 16 pounds on every plane, which that's, additional fishing pole, different things that you can get in the aircraft. That's huge for those guys. Ultimately, Avery Dennison creates a custom white film for us. We wrap a lot of fiberglass parts in white that you wouldn't know are wrapped because it just looks like the painted parts of the aircraft. And then we do everything. I would say every 120 days, we do about 4 planes. And every single plane that comes through, minus a few, is a custom order. Someone wants a custom stripe, or maybe you got your first commercial flight job for Alaska Airlines back in the 80s, and it was American Aviation West, and you want your Ranger plane that you just bought because now you're in your 70s and you're retired, you still like to fly, but you want it to match that first original Boeing plane that you first flew. So I'm getting a lot of requests where we're taking old retro designs off of big, massive Boeing planes and then scaling the design down to fit onto these Ranger aircrafts.
So if I see a Ranger with a TWA or a Pan Am going around, I'm gonna be like, I'm gonna know Wicked Raps did that.
Yep. And we actually did a Pan Am one not long ago.
Awesome.
So quite a few of those different ones out there. It's a fun, unique thing to be in and be part of. I still don't get much love from Avery or anybody in the vinyl industry, and that's okay, because the way I kind of look at it is the wrap industry encourages and endorses young people and all the way up into their elderly to wrap everything and anything, and they wrap super exotic cars that are upwards of $4 to $5 million, and some even more expensive than that. They can hit speeds of 300 miles per hour, and a lot of these airplanes that I do will only get as high as 4 to 7,500 feet in the air and are maybe traveling at speeds of 100 to 120 miles per hour. So the reality of it is that there seems to be a misconstrued there. And I think part of that is just because of FAA's control in America. Because if we are in the UK, I can tell you that they're already applying vinyl to aircrafts and massive jets. They don't have a problem doing it over there. That's just restrictions in this country.
Yeah.
So, but I will also end that with anybody that is on the commercial side. If you're smart and you have a client that is manufacturing and building something, a trailer, a plane, a custom vehicle, get involved and find out what they're doing and understand their build process, because there's a lot of ways to upsell and say, hey, what are you guys doing over there? Well, how come you're leaving the dash raw aluminum like that? And they're like, well, because we're going to put this crummy Velcro product on here, but it looks like crap. Well, hey, cool. We've got this textured carbon fiber film that looks really awesome. It looks high end. We could wrap it right over the metal. It looks like it's factory, and we've elevated the look of your trailer or your plane. And now what I did is I generated a product, an inventory that they now add to their inventory. And now I get to bill them every time they make a plane, just for that one little idea I had that now becomes a constant revenue generator for the business. So the manufacturing side, it's a little different. It's all the time. And Vashon and also Mammoth Overland, they don't fit in our normal schedule. We have a normal schedule that serves all of our normal clients. They don't fit in there because they're like, hey, we got 4 planes, we need them done. I can't tell a manufacturing company, hey, sorry guys, you got to wait 90 days. Then we'll get to your planes. It doesn't really work that way. When they say jump, I got to go up there and get the planes done and get them out the door. That's just that's the downside of being on the manufacturing side. But it's constant repeat business, which also on the flip side allows us to be more aggressive on our commercial wraps because we have that play or power to do that. And then we can also be really aggressive on our solid color wraps as well. But that's also partly because we're growing our team here. And also because Jesse has just been, killing it with our SEO and, he's making us look good online. And he's got another website he's going to be working on, which I just got today, Jesse. So, that's.
Do you want to talk about that other business? Is this an appropriate time to mention that?
Yeah, sure. There's a few new things happening here. One, I'll start with, because I don't even think you know yet, Jesse, but we did become an official distributor and dealer for XK Glow. That is a product that I personally believe in and like.
Cool.
I'm one of those people where sometimes I'll buy something for my own car and just decide if I like it and run with it for a little while. And what I find is it's a super great product. It works every time I need it to work, and we're getting requests for it. But being part of XK Glow isn't just about glow kits. It's everything from interior to exterior. It's about adding, fog lights that you can control and make different colors. They've got one that's a search and rescue light, which is super awesome. You can put this entire system goes up on top of your roof like a roof rack. It's all LED bands all the way around, and you can take a little dial inside your car, and you turn the dial, and it moves the LED light around like a spotlight, and it's pretty cool. They do whip lights for like your UTVs and things of that nature, which next time you're here at the shop, Jesse, you'll see a really cool display system that we mounted to the walls that lights up. I'm one of those people where I believe in putting the product and the stuff right in people's faces because I want people to touch, see, feel, buy. And so that's a new product offering. I've already got 2 people already on jobs for those. One will be for a Corvette that we're going to do a full underglow system on. That would be for the Back the Blue one that you saw, Jesse, at the Wolfpack Arena football game.
Nice.
And then we just booked an older client. It's a commercial client that owns a garage door company. And we are installing some lights that are called rock lights, which will be installed up underneath the fender wells of his truck to illuminate the bottom. And then he wanted a LED strip light across the back that goes underneath the tailgate. It's a sequential light, which just means that instead of it just being, one big brake light, it can do the blinker and it like does the tracing thing on one side and on the other side. And so we're going to install that for him. So I already can see a good profit margin there. Not so much do we make a ton of profit on the product, but the install and the labor is where we make the money on that.
Yeah. It probably really helps when you have a cool design, like a new color change wrap or something like that, and then you add the lighting to it, it even accentuates.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, people see like my car and I'll turn the lights on. They're like, dude, how'd you do that? And how come you have like lights flashing here and lights flashing there? And it's just understanding how to make the kits work and do that. But that's what makes XK Glow Systems, in my opinion, one of the best in the market right now. Because everything is so plug and play. One app controls everything.
Yeah.
And that's what also makes it, really cool. Now, back to, the other part of Jesse's question there for anybody that tunes in or is listening. I've always am in the background trying to think of what is Wicked Wrap's next move. Do we want to remain as a wrap company? Do we continue to travel the road of being honed in on that? Or do we start to step outside the box of a 20-year brand and start to diversify our coat of armor? And so about a year ago, I had a dream, and the dream was Wicked Wash. I had an idea to create a wash program that would maintain our fleet customers and our wrap customers so that we could stay on top of our customers, again, creating that high touch, experience with our customers, so that I have a guy out there at the same fleet customer that we just wrapped last week, but he's getting to see all 22 other vehicles that we've done over the course of 7 years. And he can say, hey, you remember vehicle 425? Well, that one we wrapped back in 2012. It's starting to look old. We may want to look at removing the hood and replacing the hood on this one. It's an opportunity for us to continue to keep that relationship close. Wicked Wash will be an on-the-spot wash. It will serve everything from inside to outside of the vehicle, from undercarriage cleaning to pressure washing a trailer, to big giant box trucks, to heavy equipment. Christopher and I are not afraid to take on just about any of it. We have a custom built out Dodge Ram truck that is going to come to market looking freaking awesome. I've got a killer wrap design that I can't wait to share with the world. I know it's going to be a huge hit in the P&W here. Just think Seattle Kraken, Seattle Mariners. That'll kind of give you an idea of the color palette that we're going to go with. That's a strategic play, me playing off Pacific Northwest vibes and also playing off the massive love for our sports teams here. The truck will feature a skid mount system that will give us the ability to provide shop vac, pressure washing with a water tank system, extraction machine in there, and a generator system so we can run other tools, other equipment. We are going to invest in a Ryobi system, which I think is pretty cool, which is going to give us the ability to have some electric equipment as well, but also so that we have a wand that is electric powered that also has a scrubber on the end of it, so we can get some of those bigger box trucks and things cleaned quicker and faster and cause less fatigue on the employee or the person that's having to work some of that equipment. Yeah. Now on cars, maybe we don't use something like that because we're not trying to cause damage to the paint, but for a box truck application, it would be perfectly okay to use for something like that. But Wicked Wash, I would say we hope to have that up and going by end of June. Yeah, cool. I'm shooting for right after 4th of July to have the truck wrapped, trailer wrapped, and for poor Jesse's got a lot of work to do. Yeah. But I'm super excited to bring it to market. I'm super excited to have Wicked Wash become part of the Wicked Wraps family. And we're not going to stop there. That is just one of the many pieces that I'm bringing to the table. And my goal and Christopher's goal there is just to lock and dial in that business. Don't be surprised if you see me out there doing some of these cars in the beginning, or Chris. We are the type of dudes that believe in understanding our equipment, our machines, and how do we do it. And then from there, we train our guys and we make them passionate about it, because they're going to see that, hey, Wade and Christopher are out there washing the cars. Yeah. We want our team to know that we can also do the work.
We'll get recognized by understanding how to do it. We'll be able to train, but then we'll also create content all at the same time. Everything that Jesse needs to make sure that this site goes viral before we truly open it up to the public.
Yeah. And, if you have a wrap shop, you got a window tint shop, and you do window tint and paint protection film, you don't wrap cars right now, and you've honed in your tint and PPF side of it, start thinking about adding wraps to your business. If you're running something that's closer to Wicked Wraps and you do design, print, install, you offer the print side wraps, you offer the solid color, the paint protection film, the window tint, and you're killing it in all those avenues, then it's now time to start thinking about what the next step of your business is. To me, Wicked Wash makes sense.
Wade,
it's hand in
also,
hand.
Speaking of which, you teach classes now. That's something that I want you to address. It's very interesting. It's a way to give back also. So really quick, Josh, my brother-in-law teaches automotive mechanics at the local school. Wade and Christopher have gone in there, I think, multiple times, right, and taught to the class. Yep. But then also he's planning on bringing people to his shop, not just to train your employees, but also to get certifications or something. Can you touch on that?
Yeah. So right now, Christopher and Chris has actually been encouraging me to do a local type, program where we could tailor to locals. And that would be something that I personally would teach. And for me, it might be something that's maybe more of a business builder type package, where not only are we teaching you a little bit about what wrapping is, but we're also teaching you a little bit about paint protection film, a little bit about window tint, and then giving you some of that just real life, no sugar coated. If you want to know some real, hard things about running and operating a small business in this industry, I will certainly be able to share you a lot of information that's going to allow you to hit the ground running a lot quicker and a lot faster. In regards to certification classes and things like that, we actually have a wrap school coming up, I think 2 or 3 weeks out. It's in the month of June that you can actually find on Avery Dennison North America's website right now. That is us, Christopher and I, and Wicked Wraps providing a space being host to help Avery Dennison continue to promote their certification program.
Yep.
Now, that certification program is advertised nationally. Those certification programs and all wrap classes are actively taking place every week across the country, just in different wrap companies, different shops. Avery Dennison will only align their wrap classes with pro shops. They do not want to have students show up to a place that is a hole in the wall. If your space is just too small, they'll likely say no, because a lot of times they have 10 to 30 people sign up for these classes. So you got to have a space. Yeah. And one thing that's cool with Wicked Wraps is just the space we have is freaking phenomenal. And they love being able to come here and utilize our space because we've equipped it for them. Now, does it make revenue for us? Does it make money? No. But what it does do is it connects me and Chris to other people across the nation. It gives us an opportunity to provide knowledge, help wherever we can, as much as we can. And it also keeps us hip to all the things changing in the industry, because I get to see everything that Avery's doing and changing before anybody gets to SEMA. I personally already know right now what they have up their sleeve. I know what they're working on. I know what they're going to release at SEMA. So those are some of the benefits of being able to kind of have that align with them. Yeah. And if I need something on a whim, I can pick up the phone and call the product manager and say, hey, I really need help on this. And likely they're going to give us the help and do the work around a distributor if we're looking for color or we're just running into some problems.
So do you think, the future of wrap is? Do you think it's, are we talking, you think color PPF's going to get really big? Do you think traditional wrap?
Yeah.
Do you think more like carbon fiber PPF? Or where do you see the next big step?
Yeah, so I don't see solid color wraps, going away. I see the film improving, right? Becoming more user-friendly. Maybe you're not getting as many adhesive lines. Maybe you could stretch the film further. I'd like to see chrome, specifically chrome wrap film, become more user-friendly so that when we're wrapping a car, you don't need to put 200 seams in it. Yeah. That's, something that a lot of people don't realize is they're like, hey, I want my car wrapped in chrome. And I look at the photo, I'm like, dang, it looks good in the photo, but you should see how it actually looks in real life when we're standing 2 feet back from the car. Yeah. You would see all the seams. So in that realm, I don't see a lot changing in the solid color market. I just see more colors coming and them continuing. Like, for example, I'll give you a great example. 3M, we'll talk about them. They had their 2080 wrap film series for the last, 7 years. It was 1080 before that. Mm-hmm. And so what they did was they changed some adhesive. Honestly, they kind of made it worse than the original predecessor. And then they added a cap sheet. That was their big change. Mm-hmm. And then this last year, they came out with the HD series. So basically all they did is they came out with their top 10 colors, which are their top solid colors that they sell the most of: black, red, some of those basic colors. And they created the HD series, which has no orange pill. So that's the only difference. Yeah. Still has a cap sheet. We like it. We use HD 2080 gloss black for all of our chrome deletes because it has a true piano black look to it and you get no orange pill. Yeah. So we like it from that standpoint. So that's one thing that you've seen innovated in that realm. What I would like to see more innovated in the industry is more overlams. You've seen that, Jesse, on the Phoenix Dodge Charger, where it has a shade shifter clear coat that was married to a printed wrap. Now, I would like to see Avery, 3M, KPMF, Orifol, all the brands out there that are producing laminates, produce more laminates like carbon fibers, brushed metals, more shade shifter laminates, more special effects that we can press over printed images. Personally, I think that that's what people want more of. Now, on the PPF side of things, where is that industry headed? I see PPF headed into exactly where STEC is going to continue to innovate, because they are the biggest innovators in the PPF market. They have already positioned themselves, and they did this at SEMA this last year, as a true TPU PPF product that will be dry application installed with no static. And that will be a game changer in the industry. If that film at all can perform, can install at anywhere close to how a dry application wrap installs, that will be a game changer in the industry. That will be something where if the product performs to the same level as a wet application PPF, which I believe it will, then it will literally flip the PPF industry upside down, and it will require 3M and Avery and all these other brands creating PPF products out there to either get on board with that, or what I will see is a shift to installers wanting to make that shift to dry.
And what now?
Nobody
is it
wants
a clear? Is it a
to,
clear dry
It
app?
is.
Or, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's optically clear. They're going to offer it in like a matte. The benefit of that is if I was installing PPF in your car and I did everything to protect this car, we clean it, we do all this stuff, I install the whole freaking thing. It's a 10 out of 10 install, and then I look back, and what do I see on the hood? A little tiny hair.
Yep.
And I see it. My customer's going to see it.
Yep.
So now we're yanking it off.
Yep.
And so that's the downside, is the static charge that a lot of films create naturally when you remove the backing paper. So if you could somehow eliminate that static charge, then likely you're going to get better results. Plus, eliminating the wet aspect of it. When we think about how wet PPF gets applied in tint, you got to hose the whole thing down, and you're kind of floating it off pretty far off the car, or you've got it on a big sheet of glass, like we have a big giant thing that we move around the shop, and that naturally can just pick up particles. I mean, there's particles in the air, and so that's a PPF and tint installer's worst nightmare. So by taking the wet aspect out of it, you're eliminating one less step, one less product, and now we're just treating it more like a wrap. And my understanding is that Steck will have that release at some point in time this year.
Wow, that's pretty cool stuff.
So that's where I see the PPF market going. And then on the print side, they're just making new print media that's maybe a little bit more conformable. You know, maybe a different clear coat that they're pressing over the top that's a bit more conformable. 3M did release a new print media series that they are claiming to have a 10-year warranty on it. Now, they make that claim, but I'm always one of those people where you need to go back and look at the spec sheet, because what a lot of people don't understand in the wrap industry is that they'll rate the film the last 7 to 10 years. But that's a generalized rating. That isn't necessarily the rating that would be here in Washington. And that's not the same rating you're going to get in Texas. Yeah. So I'm more realistic with customers, and I break it down based on how 3M or Avery would break it down to me, which is 3+ years on horizontal, 5+ on vertical. Yeah. That's just the way it is. Now, it's not to say that you're not going to see 3 years on your horizontals. It just means that in reality, in hindsight, you actually have to take care of your car. And that actually means you got to wash it. We all want to be hippies, but we all got to take a shower at some point in time.
So now you can call Wicked Wash. There you go.
Exactly. So,
see, he's just creating business for himself as he's talking. That's awesome.
We under promise and over deliver, but we also tell people, you know, it's zoned. You know, we're in a certain zone here in Washington that's not going to be accountable to the zone, say, down in Arizona. So if you're going to move down there, expect your vinyl to start deteriorating quite quickly, quite rapidly, especially if you're not maintaining it, taking care of it, keeping it covered, keeping it clean. All of those variables are installed. So no matter what you say and how you say what you say, the client hears what they want to hear. There's perspective and there's perception, right? We all have different values. That some of them get skewed. So we protect ourselves. We basically make sure that everything is documented, everything is written, and everything gets signed. So when the customer leaves our shop, we're protected. And we protect our client by allowing them to create this vision in their head. And hopefully that creates a customer. Yeah. And so, you know, we do our best. Now, if a client or customer comes back and says, hey, this failed, you know, we look back in the paperwork and we say, well, you know, you were supposed to be back for a post-wrap follow-up in 10 days and it's been 3 months. Listen, you know, let's take a look at it, because if it's something that we got to take off and completely redo, we're going to have to charge you. Yeah. If it's something that we can fix because we enjoyed your business and we want to earn your future business and your great referrals, we'll see what we can do. But again, that's where the business comes into play. So where the business goes, well, we determine that. If you get caught just sitting in your living room, you're never going to find a date. You got to get out in the world, right? You got to put yourself in awkward situations. And that's what we do. So that's why we're always increasing and enhancing our business techniques. From going to Wicked Wash to XK Glow to opening up. Now, we don't really definitely want to do a lot of planes, but you know, it's a case-by-case basis.
You are near Boeing. I mean, let's get these Spirits and Southwest Pete things done.
When I drive by that, trust me, you watch. I'm going to go get Boeing doors. I'm going to go get those on my list. But we want to do anything and everything. That's where Wicked Wash comes into play. Yes, we're going to start with fleet. Will that organically grow to your house, doing your RV, your boat, your driveway, your garage doors? Yeah. But we're going to do it we're going to do it very tame. We're going to do it very methodically.
Yeah. One thing I was going to put in there too, for anybody that tunes in, is listening to this and is looking for unique ways, thinking outside the box. I am the think outside the box guy. How do I get myself in one person's store, make them believe in my product, and then get them to sell my product for me? So that kind of came because, as Jesse knows, I have a side company that was called Steelhead Wraps, initially created in 2019. And my goal with that business was to create kind of a DIY boat wrap program. But COVID came, and I kind of missed that opportunity to really build it at that point in time. And then Wicked Wraps just freaking grew, and it's overpowered any opportunity for that business to do anything. So instead of losing all this time and effort that I spent on marketing, creating over 150, unique boat wrap designs to fit on these aluminum boats, I said, there's got to be another way I can repurpose this branding. And so Christopher and I came up with this idea that we would take an inexpensive iPad display system that you purchase off Amazon. It was about $400. It's a nice vertical stand, and it holds the iPad up top. So what I did was, hey, we're going to wrap the whole face of this thing, and it's going to show all these cool boat wrap designs, and it's going to say, ask your sales rep today for a custom boat wrap. And I put all this, advertisement pieces on there, wrapped all these different things, and every bit of it is to ask your sales rep about window tint, ask your sales rep about paint protection film. And then on the iPad, it shows over the 20 years of the work we've done, all the different boat wraps we've done, whether you want a guide service, you want the salmon skin that I've done a million times, you want an American flag, people are getting to see that. And our goal is to help the boat wrap company just generate a sale right off us. They make a percentage. They're getting 25 to 30% off of a boat wrap or a window tint or paint protection film, and we're making them look good. All we have to do is live true to our word and make them look their best. And we've now wrapped the boat, but most importantly, customers can also finance it within the purchase of their boat, which is awesome. They sell a used boat. Maybe the guy likes the boat, but he doesn't love the color, or maybe it's got a few Mari marks on it and he really wants it to be black, or he wants a salmon skin on there. Well, that's where this comes into play. So just this week, we delivered that system down there. The owners think it's awesome. It sits inside Three Rivers Marine down in Woodinville. We're the first shop to do anything like this. And for me, again, it's just getting our brand in places that we wouldn't otherwise be. It's extending the Wicked Wraps website in there. And I'm also smart knowing that some customers that come in there aren't necessarily going to ask about a boat wrap from Three Rivers Marine. And maybe they're not even thinking about a boat, but they saw our branding there. They scanned the QR code, which took them to our amazing website that Jesse kicked ass on. And then the person's like, oh, well, crap. I didn't know they did chrome deletes and window tint too. And so now we've just earned a customer through their doorfront or through their doorstep. And to me, that's the same thing I'm doing with Vashon Aircraft, same thing I'm doing with Mammoth Overland. We'll start with this one boat dealer. If this works really well, then Chris and I will implement it into a second boat dealer. And then this same model, I'll eventually implement into dealerships.
That's what I was going to ask you next. I was going to ask you next, how long does it take to get that in a dealership where people can see their wrap and everything and all,
Yeah, well, as long as we make the dealership look good, or if we go to say Ace Hardware or something like that, and we make them look good, we're doing this for them.
Right.
We are a side business. We don't tell people. I mean, 90% of the time, we don't even put our name on a car. We might put it on the license plate or maybe the windshield, but we're not there for us. The customer already knows us. We make the customer look good. What's the customer do? They're going to tell people about us. So that friendly, warm referral is 10 times better than us putting our name on something. So we make it look like it's them that knows a guy.
Yeah.
And they've got the ability, and we want them to be in the forefront of the customer's mind.
Yeah. And the way to look at this, Jesse, is it would be like if I showed up and went to the dealership every week to talk about all the new things we do. Instead, all I do is go and update my display. Yeah. I don't really have to update people because even the sales guys are watching my display every day. They know my product probably better than I know it, just so they can try and create an upsell to a customer. So to me, it's a much smarter model to go about. It also doesn't make or hone my business in one specific avenue. We're not stuck saying, hey, we're 80% dealership base or whatever. I don't want to be pigeonholed that way, because if the dealership ever makes a big drastic change, GM changes, ownership changes, or car sales start to dive, then they're not bringing me window tint. They're not bringing me paint protection film, and I'm not getting the solid color wraps. So to me, having that displayed for $500 down there, that's like an extension of Chris and I. We are the display. We are the stand. We just have to make sure that unit encompasses everything we do with as much information and only the information we want customers to know. And we also, I also take all the solid color wrap books. I pull everything out of those books that we don't want customers to have access to. This is dumbing down the process because the last thing I want to do is have Three Rivers Marine hit me up for carbon fiber to go down the side of an aluminum boat. Or brush metal. So instead we take some of those specialty films out and we focus on the mattes, the satins, the gloss metallics, the pearls, the stuff that's simple and straightforward because we know that that's mostly what they're looking for. And I do that with Orful, the 3M book, and we use the Avery book. I don't do any KPMF and no cheetah wrap, which is our lowest base cast film. And that already gives those guys access to 260 some colors,
which is more than enough for sure.
Right.
Plenty. You got to keep it.
10 yellows.
You still got to keep it simple for the customer for sure. And
exactly,
it's awesome. I mean, it's such a good idea when I think about what you guys are doing there and expanding it, and you can just continually grow with the technology and digital. And what I love most is, Jesse, the energy they bring.
Yeah.
I mean, these guys love coming to work. I mean, there's something about coming to work, but it's 11 o'clock right now in Seattle, or 12 o'clock, and they're at noon. They're not even thinking about lunch. They're thinking about, I wish we had another hour, but unfortunately we don't. But these guys are like, dude, we got this. That's awesome. And what's even better is you have somebody to bounce it off of, and you guys can build on
absolutely.
it, which is why I think you guys are so successful. That's awesome. But go ahead, Jesse.
Well, I think the reason you're feeling it that way is I think like a shark, right? Sharks swim every day. They never stop swimming. They never stop breathing, and they're on one mission. And the only mission is to find food and eat it. So to me, they don't. And to me, it's like if I came here and every day was like, oh, it's work and it's Monday. Well, that's not how a shark feels. Shark says, hey, I got to eat. I'm still swimming. I'm still breathing. And to me, that's what's coming here every day. That's why I'm here. I got to make sure that I feed Christopher, I feed myself, I take care of my team, and I keep my team energized. And Christopher and I know that there's times where I'll be up here and I'm working on a lot of designs, and then I'll walk out the shop, and I haven't been out there all day. And I come out, and in half a day, I wrap a whole side of a car. My team turns around, and they're like, wow, what's going on here? But what we do find is that when I am out there, the presence of the shop and the workflow just increases.
It's awesome.
But appreciate you guys. Appreciate you having us on the podcast today.
Last question: how do people find out more about you? If somebody has a question, or if they're in the Pacific Northwest and they want to wrap, or if they want to ask questions, where do you want them to go?
Absolutely. I mean, I can. Yeah. Well, obviously, you want to go to wickedwraps.net. Okay. We are located in Mukilteo, Washington. We've been here since 2013. We are directly on the Mukilteo Speedway, which is right near Boeing. And soon to be at Dick's Restaurant. So we know if you're going to come up and get Dick's Burgers in the future, you're going to stop by Wicked Wraps. You can find us on our Instagram, which is at Wicked Wraps. You'll know it's us because we have a teal and pink logo, so you know we're the official Wicked Wraps.
Your cell phone's on the wall of most public bathrooms.
It is, yeah. My cell phone number is out everywhere for the whole world. And then Facebook, you can find us there, and then obviously through our website.
Cool. And it's tattooed right here on Chris's arm.
It is.
And last I would say is you can also watch our Wicked Wraps podcast on our YouTube channel, which has a lot of great stuff on there from our content that we shoot and create with our content guys, soon to be Rugged Destinations, and then also our podcast videos that we've done with Jay over I am 3 Media. He's done a really phenomenal job on that, and I encourage anybody to watch those podcasts. Jesse's on one of them, but our podcast is really just about giving back to our clients and making it about them and giving them an opportunity to tell their story on our podcast.
That's awesome.
Absolutely.
Thank you guys so much.
We're a cold store shop, so bring anybody. Just swing by our shop.
Yeah, we're open door shop. Yeah,
so
that's great, man. Thank you guys again for being on the show today. We really appreciate it. This was really a fun interview. We might have to do a part 2 after you launch Wicked Wash. We'll have to do another episode, I think. So
there you go.
Absolutely. That sounds awesome. Appreciate you guys. Thanks for taking the time out of your day today to make this available. And
looking forward to meeting you guys at SEMA. We'll talk soon.
Sounds good, buddy. Appreciate it. Have a good one.
All right, guys.
We'll see you. Bye.
And there you have it, another high-octane episode of the Ride and Style podcast, revved up and ready to go. Your hosts, Jesse Stoddard and Josh Polson, shifted your automotive game into overdrive. If you're hungry for more insights, trends, and game-changing interviews from the automotive restyling universe, don't forget to hit subscribe and leave a glowing review. We'd also love for you to share this podcast with your gearheads, installers, and auto lovers network. Because remember, knowledge is power, but shared knowledge turbocharges the whole industry. For more expert resources to supercharge your business, cruise on over to autostylemarketing.com, your one-stop shop for everything automotive marketing. Until next time, keep those wheels spinning and your passion ignited. Thank you for riding in style with us. See you on the next lap.